Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be diving into Dante more. I covered him a little bit earlier. Now, I do have to apologize a little bit because when I said Ohio State in a previous uh, recording, I actually meant Indiana. And so I do apologize for that. But that being said, welcome to Cold Brew, where we are here and talk about all things NFL draft. I'm your host, Joseph Potter. Let's get right on into it. So, obviously, we're hitting Dante Moore, and we're going to talk a little bit about him, but we're also going to talk about the environment in which he's playing at and working with. So, we're going to hit right up into it. Dante Moore isn't your typical Oregon quarterback. Oregon has a really it's a good offense for college, but it's also deceptive when it comes to NFL prospects, especially quarterbacks. It's the high tempo, run the ball, quick read, get the ball to your tight end group, and let them do the big lifting. Where typically the quarterback just does the minimal. Uh, you do see people take advantage of that. Saw Bo Nix, big most recent example. Somebody who came from Auburn, then Oklahoma, went through Oklahoma, I believe it was, and played in a couple different offensive systems. And I really liked him at Auburn. And he really took advantage of what was going on at Oregon. And I think that in this case, that Dante Moore is a higher ceiling than Bo Nix was, but Bo Nix had the experience. So we're talking about two different situations, but both guys were the big men on campus, so to speak. Um, and the offense does uh, mask a lot of deficiencies, boost a lot of numbers. That's where you had to really look at the talent involved. Coach Lanning is a very good head coach. He's a former defensive coordinator. He's a former linebackers coach. He is a former linebacker himself. So he knows that side of the game. He likes to play loose and free. And every coach Oregon's had over the last 20 years or so has liked to play loose and free with their offense. And that's fine. It is the perfect style for the college game. And before Lanning, his predecessor was now Miami of Florida head coach Mario Cristobal, who was a former offensive tackle at Miami and won championships in 89 and I believe 91 national championships there. And he left in 92 before playing with the Amsterdam Admirals from 95 to 96. And the Amsterdam Admirals they were another high octane offensive system for those of you who actually remember that league. And so all the coaches there, from Chip Kelly on forward, all had a high-paced offense. Um, and Dante Moore was very, very smart and very good. He enrolled early in UCLA and played for Oregon's former head coach and former head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chad Kelly, before transferring to Oregon, and started 5 out of the 9 games he played. So he is equipped, and he has worked in more complicated offensive schemes. So he definitely knows what's going on around him. Now, one of the big things he is good at, he's a pocket passer, first and foremost. He doesn't run a lot. He relies on his arm. One of the things he's really good at, though it probably won't work at the next level the way it does in college, he sees the field very well. But what he does, he looks to an area of the field and then just hits the open man, regardless of what route he runs. And he's very good at leading receivers. He's got a foresense on how far to put the ball out to where his receivers can get to him. Now, sometimes that works against him because he does rely on his arm too much. Sometimes he holds the ball too long. And that's why work is needed. Because he doesn't run a lot. He doesn't like to run. He always keeps his eyes downfield, which is great. But he has athletic ability that he does kind of refuse to use. Now, I don't know why. Because his big thing is, I see a hole that'll get me 7, 8 yards. I'm going to throw it to the guy who's going to get me 4. It's the exact opposite of Arch Manning. So I know Arch Manning, as I've said earlier, does the exact opposite. He'll take off and run. So I'm not sure how all that will fit into place. But what I do know is that he has been working hard this year, this offseason. He's already reported to Oregon. He's there before anybody else is. He's working on the field, and he's getting reps in. And Dan Lanning is a very good coach. He's got a very good staff. And I'm sure they're watching tape. Because I think a lot of his fumbles and a lot of his issues with interceptions, he had 10 interceptions last year. He had the same problems at UCLA. He had all those problems working for him same way. He just wasn't as skilled then. So what he needs to do, right now he's an athletic pocket passer. He's not a running quarterback. But he needs to run more decisively. When you see that there is no one open, but you see a running lane, hit that running lane. I'm sure all the coaches would tell him, I'd rather you pick up 3 yards and get a sack fumble, or force the ball where it's going to get tipped or intercepted. And that is going to be one of the biggest struggles for him, is to learn to rely more on the run, rely more on his legs. Because even when he scrambles, he gets the ball downfield. Now, that's not to say the offense doesn't have something to do with what he's doing, because he is not immune to the type of offense it's run. He still throws the quick swing passes. He still does the design rollouts to isolate one receiver. He still does all that stuff. But he also operates at a higher level. He isn't just taking the checkdowns. He isn't just saying, okay, I didn't get my first read, so let's just throw it to the first open guy. He's taking his read. He's looking at the field. And oftentimes he'll take 2 or 3 looks, because the way he looks at the field, he looks at a section of it. So he'll take 2 or 3 looks quick. And then he'll make a decision on where to put the football. So he does have these advantages where past quarterbacks didn't. The last quarterback that is there that played like he does that I remember is actually Justin Herbert. Plays for the Chargers right now. Dylan Gabriel was not a good college quarterback. He just floated from system to system that hit his deficiencies. And he did a good job of it. Makes some good money out of it. I'm not going to really hurt the guy or insult the guy for doing what was best. If anybody, he might remind me a little bit more of Marcus Mariota in terms of how he does things. And as we know, Mariota was a highly touted college quarterback. But can he improve that on what Mariota did? We'll see this year. He's showing all the right signs. He's showing all the right pieces. He's showing all the right attitude and work ethic. And considering, I don't think people knows this, but I believe he is from Elyria, Ohio. So growing up in let me take a look here. Played for the UCLA Bruins. He grew up in East Cleveland. So he's part of that football, and he grew up nearby Elyria. So, and then he moved to Detroit. He is right in the center he grew up right in the center of all of that football madness up there. So, Martin Luther King High School, he's always been right in the center of everything. So in that case, when you look at the things that he's been through, when you look at the thought process that he has going forward, these things that he needs to work on, the using your legs more, the not throwing into dangerous situations as much because he doesn't have the accuracy yet to hit those tight windows. Those things, if he works hard enough, because he's going to, from the East Cleveland, the Elyria, the Michigan, that northeastern grit that he has. with the football background is very much something that does get put into your psyche. So in this case, oh, my collar is bad. Oh, okay. Get that down. Okay, but in that case, if you are looking at somebody who has the mental toughness to fix these potentially within a year, I think Dante Moore might be the guy that you would want to look at and say, hey, I have more faith in him to fix his issues than I do anybody else in this draft. Because he has the mental makeup. He comes from a place where it's hard nosed. Yes, Texas is passionate, but man, you don't get as hard nosed as those guys out in the Northeast when it comes to football. You don't get as stubborn. So, right there, looking at Moore and saying, dude, this year, if you lead Oregon to a national title, good chance you're going to be the number one overall pick. I hear Arizona's waiting on you. It's nice up there this time of year. Might get a couple sunburns, but I hear they got a beach or two. So they're waiting. And I think you have the ability to hit that mark. So, that being said, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the Cold Brew. Remember, when you're watching on YouTube, look straight down, hit that ding-a-ling on the bar, reserve your spot, because we're going to be here waiting. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and remember, this shot's on us.